So the idea of new premium, we didn't invent it. It's something we've observed, really. And once we observe the trends, we help to drive it. So what is it? What we've started to see a few years ago is that there are a lot of first wave of the adoption or democratization of smartphones, where people were getting their first or maybe second smartphone. And at the time, it really didn't matter. It just needed to make a phone call, and it was the first revolutionary thing because you could browse the internet. Think about the developing country. Think of people who are getting their first smartphones. It was an amazing experience for them. So anything would be better because there was no frame of reference and no comparison. After that first phase, people started to really differentiate between good quality products and poor quality product in terms of not just quality, in terms of plastics and how it looks, but the performance. They demanded more performance. And as the flagship phones become less and less accessible, but more and more visible, people tend to think and tend to say that, hey, I would like that. I know it's crazy expensive and that's not something that I can reach, but I do want that and I want those features. So it created kind of a space where second or third or fourth time people buying smartphones, they really wanted to have a nearly flagship experience. But not everybody in the world obviously can spend $1,000, not even in the United States. So it does call for a little bit of compromise, but it does call for a lot of innovation as well, because in reality, a lot of those features that flagships deploy could be brought into the mid-range. And so that area, that space, that segment that has still reasonable cost structure, kind of in the middle mass market, where still a majority of people can reach, but has nearly flagship performance, that's what we've defined as a new premium, right? The premium performance at affordable price, right? Interestingly enough, there's a big misconception. People tend to think that in order to make something cheaper, which is probably true in majority of the industries, you have to take something out. What can I take out to make it cheaper? But in the silicon development, in the chip development, SoC development, actually the reverse is true. The more you can integrate into the SoC, the less components you have, the lower the cost, and also the lower the cost of development. So this is the part of the game that MediaTek has been doing for many years. We try to integrate as much technology into a single chip as possible, reduce the bill of materials, reduce the number of components, reduce the effort required to integrate all this, and increase the competition to make it more available to more customers, more development organizations to build better products. So that's how the cost gets reduced, not by taking stuff out, but actually putting more stuff in. What do we put in? Better graphics, AI. AI used to be a privilege of flagship devices with specialized chips. Now it's integrated into the SoCs for the mid-range products, such as the P70 last year, and we've demonstrated P60, P70 in the last couple of years with artificial intelligence features for the mid-range products. Now we're looking at G70 and G90. Again, like I mentioned, $350 is still reasonably affordable phone comparing to what it costs now to buy a flagship in the US and the rest of the world. And yet it has the artificial intelligence power of a supercomputer of the past, right? So this is the kind of things that we do. We integrate more and more technology, put more and more innovation in place, and enable competition, and that's what drives the consumer cost down. Yeah, I think the idea of new premium is not to focus on how much it costs, but what kind of value and performance it can deliver to you. Honestly speaking, if you look at the global market, it's easier to say which companies we do not work with. And the truth is that if you look at all the manufacturers of Android phones in the world, I would say we probably work with almost all of them, but certainly all major ones. So in Latin America specifically, we work with LG, we work with Motorola, we work with Samsung, we work with TCL Alcatel, we work with ZTE, we work with Huawei. So you will find our chipsets in every major brand. Xiaomi, Oppo is coming now in Mexico. So all these companies, we have phones with every one of them. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, with technology, as technology gets more complicated, it's getting more and more difficult to make a determination what's the right product, and that's why we rely on automotive magazines when we buy in the cars, and that's why we rely on the technology reviews like this one when we buy in the phone. It's not an easy task. I would argue that today, for the, I would say, majority of the general users, if you're not looking for a status symbol, if you're not looking for something that you say, okay, this is the latest that came out and I have to have it, I would say majority of the new premium devices will deliver the performance and experience that is more than adequate for general user. And so I would encourage people to look at the reputable reviewers, such as this one, who understand the technology and who could offer good suggestions. And I think we've seen that from the industry. We've seen this from the media partners, that more and more people go to the stores, look at what's available, and then look at the reviews to make the final determination. I think it's a reasonable approach. That's what we do with cars, which are difficult to understand and interpret. Makes sense to do it without the technology as well.